This is a channel for unlike-minded individuals. This Urantia book is able to unite and synthesize all of these various viewpoints. And since it is not a religion, if you are not interested in one aspect or another, then carry on. Continue about, and you will find something here that really does blow your mind, synthesize it all for you in a way that only an advanced intelligence could. So, please like and subscribe. We're getting close to 1,000 here, folks. So our channel is growing. And not only is this a channel just about learning and reading information, uplifting information, but it's also about action. Taking these words that we learn and doing something about it. Finding some way that we can affect a positive change in the world, which so desperately needs it. And not only that, but we have this advanced 2,100 page book to back us up on how to go about doing that. So we're looking at the mansion worlds today. The mansion worlds is the next direct path on our ascent, the next direct stopping point on our ascension path after this world. These mansion worlds, in fact, can be skipped entirely because you pick up on the other side where you leave off here. And if you choose that you want to put your mind onto spirituality, virtues, exchanging vices for virtues, then these first mansion worlds will have nothing to teach you. Okay? This is more for beings who are caught up in all of the 1,000,001 distractions of this planet. But what we're going to do today is we're just going to kind of glance over this a little bit and try to cover all of the mansion worlds in one video. So here we go. Let's start with the introduction, the 7 mansion worlds. This is on page 530. The Creator's Son, when on Urantia, spoke of the, quote, many mansions in the Father's universe. Now this is Jesus of Nazareth. They call him the Creator's Son. And this is a quote that is even in the Bible. In fact, I have a friend who reads the Bible, and this was one thing that he thought the Urantia book had an intriguing interpretation of, because Jesus claims that there's many mansions in the Father's universe, but he doesn't specifically go into the fact that there are various levels. So a Christian is left to wonder, what are these mansions? Don't we all just go to heaven? Isn't this all just this one place? So they have this illusion to this in their religion. In a certain sense, all 56 of the encircling worlds of Jerusalem are devoted to the transitional culture. That's the capital of the, I think it's a system or something like that. To the transitional culture of ascending mortals. But the 7 satellites of world number 1 are more specifically known as the mansion world. So these are all transitional cultures. This is how specific this is. Transition world number 1 itself is quite exclusively devoted to ascendant activities, being the headquarters of the finaliter corps assigned to Satania. These are all just various groupings of inhabited worlds. They call them systems, constellations, because in each local universe there's projected to be 10 million inhabited worlds, and there's many local universes. So it's all very well organized in order to have this countless number of beings. I mean, just imagine 10 million inhabited worlds. How many beings would be there? Not only human, but divine. It needs to be very organized. We would expect nothing less from a perfect deity, that there would be perfect organization amongst the universes. This world now serves as the headquarters for more than 100,000 companies of finaliters. Those are mortals like us who have taken it all the way. They've already been through all of this training and everything like that, and now they're coming back to help. And there are 1,000 glorified beings in each of these groups. When a system is settled in light and life, and as the mansion worlds one by one cease to serve as mortal training stations, they are taken over by the increasing finaliter population, which accumulates in these older and more highly perfected systems. So those mansion worlds are temporary trainings, and then they just become There's an unrevealed destiny as about what these finaliters are to do. What is this whole thing all about? Why are we evolving mortals, humans, all the way up to the level of gods? Is there some unrevealed destiny for that? They think that there is. They've never been told. These angelic beings, these authors of this book, are on a faith walk themselves, folks, because there's never been revealed to them what is this whole regime of training. But if God is to make some sort of decree, then the beings know it's for a perfect purpose. There's no doubting it at that point. The 7 mansion worlds are in charge of the Morancha supervisors and the Melchizedeks. There are other various types of beings. There is an acting governor on each world who is directly responsible to the Jerusalem rulers. The Uversa conciliators maintain headquarters on each of the mansion worlds, while adjoining is the local rendezvous of the technical advisors. The reversion directors and celestial artisans, there's a whole paper about them, which is very interesting, maintain group headquarters on each of these worlds. The Speranja, again, various beings function from mansion world number 1 and 2 onward, while all 7 in common with the other transitional culture planets in the headquarters world are abundantly provided with Speranja of standard creation. So it's just explaining all of the different beings there. Okay, let's look at the finaliters world. We'll do a paragraph on this. Although only finaliters and certain groups of salvaged children and their caretakers, we learned about that. Those were, babies who had born, that died when they were children, at the age of children, and their caretakers are resident on transitional world number 1. Provision is made for the entertainment of all classes of spirit beings. That's important, entertainment. Transition mortals and student visitors. The Speranja, who function on all these worlds, are hospitable hosts to all beings who they can recognize. They have a vague feeling concerning the finaliters, but cannot visualize them. They must regard them as that's interesting, as you do the angels in your present physical state. So these types of beings can't visualize them. Through the finaliter world is a sphere of exquisite physical beauty. I want to bring this up. These Morancha worlds, although they call them detention centers and training spheres and things like that, they are extraordinarily heavenly compared to anything we could possibly put into our mind. In fact, they say the highest concept that we could put into our mind of heaven is actually just a human-inhabited world that is in the era of light and life. It is a world that a regular human planet like ours that has its shit together, we would think that we had died and went to the heaven of our traditions. We're not even at mansion world number 1. And they say that your seers of old, like your John the Baptist or any of these people that have had these heavenly visions, they're not perceiving anything even close to heaven. Okay, this is still in the local universe. We haven't even gotten out into the super universe, central universe, and then the Isle of Paradise. The physical beauty is exquisite, okay, heavenly. You are not going to be like, oh man, is this really all this? I'm in this detention center with these bleak gray walls I'm learning about. No, you're going to think that you're beyond your comprehension of heaven. An extraordinary Morancha embellishment. Now, Morancha is a different type of material. It's that intervening physical and spiritual type. The Great Spirit abode located at the center of activities. The Temple of the Finaliters is not visible to the unaided material or early Morancha vision, but the energy transformers are able to visualize many of these realities to ascending mortals. From time to time, they do thus function, as on the occasions of the class assemblies of the mansion world students of this cultural sphere. So, you get different visions, different qualities of vision as you proceed on. Let's look at, probationary nursery. We were looking at this in a different section, but let's look more into this. The probationary nursery, the infant receiving schools of Satania, are situated on the finaliter world, the first of the Jerusalem transition culture spheres. These infant receiving schools are enterprises devoted to the nurture and training of the children of time, including those who have died on the evolutionary worlds of space before the acquirement of individual status on the universe records. In the event of the survival of either or both of such a child's parents, the Guardians of Destiny deputizes her associated cherubim as the custodian of the child's potential identity, charging the cherubim with the responsibility of delivering this undeveloped soul into the hands of the mansion world teachers in the probationary nurseries of the Morancha worlds. So you can see there's very specific procedures where I think beings need to take action. It's not just that everything's a machine in the universe and things just get loftily pulled where they need to go. It requires work and effort, just like this one-liner. While no inherent good can come from any evil, all things can be made to work towards good. You see, that's an example of that. A child died. That's not good. You know, maybe it was a child who was bombed in one of these terrible wars that we're experiencing on our planet constantly. And that's not good. That's evil. There's no good that's going to come from that. But it needs to be made to work towards good. So these beings are going to put in the effort and put in the work in order to make them good. So we can really, have thanks for our angelic teachers here. So you can read more about the probationary nursery on your own. There's a whole thing. I missed this the last time that we did this, but there's much more detail about that. All right, let's look at the first mansion world here. On the mansion worlds, the resurrected mortal survivors resume their lives just where they left off when overtaken by death. So wherever you're at, you're going to go there. If you're like a litter bug, then you're going to have to go to Mansion World number 1, because in Mansion World number 2, they don't have litter anymore. They don't have the shooting range and this and that and loud explosions and, oh no, a stray bullet clipped this guy. That's, and that's crude examples, okay? It's just wherever you're at, okay? When you go from Urantia to First Mansion World, you will notice considerable change. But if you had come from a more normal and progressive sphere of time, showing that we're not normal here, folks. This is the cosmic prison world because of what happened early on. Even though that doesn't have to affect us personally and individually, we can skip all. You can be translated beyond these mansion worlds, just even with the work that you do during right here and right now. So just because they're in a prison world, it's not a stigma, but it is good to know, to look out and say, this isn't normal. These wars happening, this greed, this manipulation of people. You would hardly notice the difference if you were from a normal world. That's what we would consider a heavenly world, even though it's just a normal world. For the fact that you are in possession of different body, the tabernacle of the flesh and blood has been left behind in the world of nativity. So anybody who's an atheist would agree with that, right? So how are we going to go on? We get a new body. That's how. The very center of all activities on the first mansion world is the resurrection hall, the enormous temple of personality assembly. This gigantic structure consists of the central rendezvous of the seraphic destiny guardians. Those are more the guardian angel type. When you think of your traditional guardian angel hovering over your shoulder, that's more the seraphic destiny guardians. Their specific role is they are able to take that soul into the next phase of your existence. I mean, that's one of the things that they do. But they're able to guard your destiny, so to speak, so that it's all not just lost when you die and your brain functions cease to function. There's a being, again, who takes that survival value, anything that has survival value. If you had some bad memory, like maybe abusive memory when you were young, they wipe those circuits out. They clear those circuits. You don't have to dwell on that for your whole entire universe career. It's the things that have survival value, your loving associations with your family and friends. Adjusters and the archangels of the resurrection. That's Archangel Michael. When people talk about Archangel Michael, that's his main role. They might even mention it here. The life carriers also function with the celestial beings in the resurrection of the dead. So Archangel Michael is important because the resurrection of many individuals, sleeping survivors, we called it, dispensational resurrection for hundreds of thousands of millions, who even knows how many beings, who didn't even make it to the level to reach the first mansion world. They were so backwards, but they weren't so backwards that they destroyed all spiritual capacity within themselves. But they had just so backwards that they just had to go to sleep for a long time until they could prepare things to resurrect such a backwards being. And it's my impression that that would be most of the beings on Earth. That's just my guess. I don't know that. The book doesn't reveal, and it doesn't want to, because it's not about numbers and who did this and who did that. But if I just look at the common mentality, somebody taught me, if you want to know what the common mentality is, open up the newspaper and look at the top 10 movies, because those are what people are spending their money to see, and that is your status quo, because they're grossing the most amount of money. And again, there's so many forces behind that are controlling what we see and watch and whatever, but that doesn't mean you have to. You always have free will. Let's look at this. On Mansion World number 1, or another in case of advanced status, okay, showing that you can pick up wherever, you will resume your intellectual training and spiritual development. They're two different things. At the exact level whereon they were interrupted by death. Between the time of planetary death or translation and resurrection on the Mansion World, mortal man gains absolutely nothing aside from the experience of the fact of survival. So anybody that is like, no, there's no way there's anything else out there, you're not going to get proven that there's a God when you're surviving, okay? Just because you resurrect, but that's going to do a damn lot to a lot of people who are just completely close-minded towards any of this stuff, and they resurrect. I'm going to be a little bit more open-minded that day that I'm resurrected, open to God. It can't prove, God, that you had a fact of survival. It doesn't advance anything else. It's not going to change any one of your mentalities or anything like that, but just that fact. You begin right over there where you leave off down here. Write that on your heart and embed that into your mind, folks. It might be the most important line in the entire book, because now we're stretching our existence beyond just this one short life in the flesh, and we're prioritizing. Delay is not avoidance, it is merely delay. Almost the entire experience of the Mansion World number 1 pertains to deficiency ministry. Survivors arriving on this first of the detention spheres present so many and such verified defects of creature character and deficiency of mortal experience that the major activities of the realm are occupied with the correction and cure of these manifold legacies of the life in the flesh on material evolutionary worlds of time and space. So it's all taken care of. All right, let's skip on here. Let's look at what the second mansion is about. It is on this sphere that you are more fully inducted into the Mansonia life. The groupings of the Morantia life begin to take form. Working groups and social organizations start to function, so you're starting to get your community here. Communities take on formal proportions. The advancing mortals inaugurate new social orders and government arrangements. So, as you ascend Mansion World one by one, they become more crowded with the Morantia activities of advancing survivors. They can't explain what Morantia activities are. This book is just, there's nothing that we can even begin to compare it with that you would make an explanation for what these activities are. They can say, well, did you ever see that movie Tron? Well, remember that scene, blah, blah. No, that would be a comparison that you can make. But since there's none, it's well beyond any of even our movies, fantastical things, or anything. The Sea of Glass makes its appearance on the second Mansonia, which is an interesting concept. The Sea of Glass is a gigantic crystal which allows this sort of resonant, maybe it's a Morantia material, I don't remember exactly, but it's this resonant frequency that helps beings that are being transported by angelic transport, transport supernaphim and stuff like that, that they could then have a frequency to land on. It's kind of where this landing, takes place, because it's just power center type thing. Third Mansion World. Mansonia the Third is the headquarters of the Mansion World teachers. Though they function on all 7 of the Mansion spheres, they maintain their group headquarters at the center of the school circles of World number 3. There are millions of these instructors on the Mansion and higher Morantia worlds. These advanced and glorified cherubim serve as Morantia teachers all the way up from the Mansion worlds to the last sphere of the local universe ascendant training. They will be among the last to bid you an affectionate adieu when the farewell time draws near, the time when you bid goodbye, at least for a few ages, to the universe of your origin, when you is seraphim for transit to the receiving worlds of the minor sector of the super universe. When sojourning on the first mansion world, you have permission to visit the first of the transitioner worlds, the headquarters of the finaliters and system probationary nursery for the nurture of the undeveloped evolutionary children. When you arrive on mansion 2, you receive permission periodically to visit transition world number 2. So you're allowed to skip around and look as just a visitor as what's going on there, and that would really help you say, hey, geez, I really want to work on this stuff. I mean, that's just phenomenal what's going on. Fourth, when you arrive in the fourth mansion world, you have well entered upon the Morancha career. You have progressed a long way from the initial material existence. Now you are given permission to make visits to number 4. I'm just kind of skipping this because we want to try to cover a lot of this, including the brilliant evening stars. Those are like the angelic beings that are kind of the representatives of the first and foremost angel, which is named Gabriel, the bright and morning star. Super angels they are. Okay. Let's see what else we got. Fittingly finds place in the group working class senders. Okay. All right, and it is indeed a new experience for evolutionary creatures to participate in social activities which are predicated neither on personal aggrandizement nor self-seeking conquest. A new social order is being introduced, one based on the understanding of sympathy and mutual appreciation. Do you see these values here? These are the important things to get into mind. Let the other things go. If it's this self-aggrandizing or I didn't get this, just remember, just let this unfold and play out. It's all going to come to you eventually. It doesn't matter if it's your mansion or your queen or your king. Just let it play out. It could be that the plan for you is that you're not going to have your soulmate until the fourth mansion world when you know what I mean? So it's just, but it's going to happen. So this is the last thing I'll say, then we'll call it for today. You can check out the other parts on your own, or we'll do another video about it. But I was checking out my cat today, and he just is so content and comfortable. He just sit forever. Sometimes he'll take a nap, and sometimes just wake up and look at things. We really need to have our minds able to have that peace, that we don't need to be occupied by something, or we can just let ourselves exist and be in this eternal now moment, right? Remember, as Jesus said, the domain of heaven lies within. We don't need to go to fourth mansion world or sixth or fifth or seventh in order to in order to experience this heavenly state. The domain of heaven lies within. Let's look at this right here. The seventh. What's the seventh like? The experience on the sphere is the crowning achievement of the immediate post-mortal career. During your sojourn here, you will receive the instruction of many teachers, all of whom will cooperate in the task. You see how much there is to learn? Oh my God, so deep. Of preparing you for residence on Jerusalem. Any discernible differences between those mortals hailing from the isolated and retarded worlds and those survivals from the more advanced and enlightened spheres are virtually obliterated during the sojourn on seventh mansion world. So we will be equals coming from here. Here you will be purged of all the remnants of unfortunate heredity, unwholesome environment. You know, you had to live with this terrible environment because people wanted to be selfish and try to control this world for themselves and get their own billions at the cost of literally billions of people. And unspiritual planetary tendencies, the last remnants of the mark of the beast, that's a Bible thing, are here eradicated. You have a mark of your beast, maybe last remnant. But again, pace belongs to you. You can skip 7 mansions. You can eradicate your mark of beast right now. Permission is granted to visit. And that's not me just saying that you can skip the mansion worlds. That's literally taught in the book. If you translate, then there's no need for any of these. If you merge with your thought adjuster here and now during this lifetime and you're taken off the planet. So goals, right? All right, folks. Thanks again for checking out the Urantia book. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next vid.